Would you kill off the natives to bring slaves from across an ocean when you could have turned the natives into slaves? Especially when most slaves in human history were prisoners of war. Why would a people steal people they don't like from Africa, free them, just to oppress them forever just because they're brown skin? Why didn't the US government deport black Americans after they freed the slaves? Mexicans can be deported, but not the non-native black Americans you hate. If Native Americans were actually native, why didn't they fight for their rights on their own land during the civil rights movements with Malcolm X, the Black Panthers, and Martin Luther King? Why didn't Native American leaders step up to be assassinated fighting for their rights on land that was stolen from them by the government? Why, for the past 500 years, the biggest enemy of the US has been its own black American civilians and no one else? Why did the CIA cause the crack epidemic in the black community and no other communities? Why was the police created to catch only black slave runaways when there were other races enslaved along with black people? How does a small minority of a few thousand poor farmers from Europe have both the manpower and resources to enslave tens of millions of Africans, bring them to the Americas while simultaneously committing genocide against Indians, Mayans, Aztecs, Incas, Caribbeans, and the entire South America, colonizing Africa and fighting Africans all at once? If you believed your homeland was somewhere else, would you have a desire to overthrow the people in power? If all you have to be proud of is 500-year-old slave history, assassinated black leaders, and rap music, would you have anything to amount to? All this chaos is because of skin tone, right?
There are land papers before slavery in my people name here. How was it? Because when the Europeans came here, what Roger is talking about, we gave a lot of people some spots to settle. But they took those spots and wanted bigger spots. My people right now, the Shatta, they took on the end from our people, I'm talking about the end of the big take, 25 million acres of land by removing my people from here to Oklahoma. That was the last of their land. 25 million acres of land. And it was people that looked like me. What Andrew Jackson did was he appointed some Europeans. I want you to know how I'm here, brother. My grandfathers were a generation of chiefs. I come from a line of chiefs. I'm from a royal family of chiefs. What the Europeans did was took my people, took the women and the children, and some European that Andrew Jackson was friends with, appointed them as chiefs, left the original chiefs back here, took the white chief that he appointed, which into Oklahoma is, as you know today, as Indian Territory. Indian Territory was set up by mixed breeds, okay?
Yeah.
The people that signed the treaty was either non-native or mixed breed.
People that have a purpose will look past that.
Right.
People who have a purpose will say, oh, well, they're all African, or they're, they're African American.
Right.
Well, no, we're not. We happen to be dark-skinned people, and actually, we're not even black. We're red-skinned. We're red-skinned. We're
Red-skinned,
yeah.
exactly.
You know what I mean? They say copper tone.
Exactly, it's redskin.
It's redskin.
Right, and hence the big debate with the Washington Redskins. Some look at it as being offensive, some look at it as being derogatory, but what most people don't know is prior to the British immigrating to Virginia and Washington, who were there? The Redskins.
The Redskins, and that's exactly right.
Ancient Egypt is America. America is Babylon. Babylon is the Vatican. The Vatican is the Roman Empire. God is Christ. Christ is you. You are God. Yes, it is absolutely true. The Roman Empire did crucify our brother named Yehoshua, who they reclassified as.
Juneteenth is not a black thing.
Right.
It ain't a white thing. It ain't a Texas thing.
Wow.
But it began in Texas back in 1865 when a General Gordon Granger made his way to Galveston with maybe 7,000 colored troops. And the enslaved in Galveston had been waiting and waiting. They'd have watch night services at that church, waiting for freedom. Finally came June the 19th, 1865, when he read General Order Number 3, and then he nailed it to the door of what's now Reedy Chapel African Methodist Episcopal Church. And when those people came in from their labor and somebody read that to them, we started celebrating, and we've been celebrating ever since.
Wow.
As you're aware, in 1912, Dr. Walter Plecker became the first director of the Bureau of Vital Statistics. Prior to that, there were no birth certificates, and he was a director up until the 1940s, 1946, until his death. But he was part of the eugenics movement, which was a movement about creating one race of people, which was white, and everything else was put in a pot, as Tina Marie would say, and stir it up and call colored. But he went beyond board on that, wherein as far as first Americans are concerned, he changed birth certificates and marriage license. He even put out letters to census takers in 1930 that people such as myself that are first Americans and Native Americans, that he considered us as being bastards, that we were just trying to be Indian to marry into the white race. What's so interesting about that was that in the 30s, he gave a presentation in New York City and on eugenics, and there were commanders associated with Adolf Hitler that attended that particular meeting.
But basically, when he was the registrar for the Bureau of Vital Records, he changed the names of Indian people in Southampton County.
Exactly.
Their race from Indian to Negro or colored.
So it was referred to as colored. And basically, all the tribes in Virginia in the early 1900s were referred to as colored, okay? Then after the 1924 Racial Integrity Act, everything that was in that colored bowl became Negro.
At the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land, through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest. Not only did they give the land, they built land grant colleges with government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. Now, when we come to Washington, in this campaign, we're coming to get our check.
Only 8% of the slaves that came to America. So how is it that there are so many more people that they claim are black or African American? I think they got the numbers wrong, because a lot of Native Americans are the ones that they're counting as black folks too.
Black Americans are the real American Indians. This is well known and hidden in clandestine communities. Look, if we come out and tell you, then we couldn't steal from you and occupy your land. The day you find out about land patents is the day you'll be free. That's the secret.
I am not a real, quote-unquote, black American. The real black Americans are truly what was referred to as the American Indians. Everyone knows this. It's time they take their land back. They have land patents. Nobody is stopping them but them. We will continue to control them until they realize it. I was put into this position to trick them into thinking they have some type of leadership from their community. But truth is, they don't. We rob their security interest and their land and make attempts to try and sway their vote.
See, this is the bull crap that go on with these tribes.
Everybody knows that there's all kinds of blacks that are Cherokee by blood. DNA would probably tell you that he goes back to some of the same chiefs that I go back to. But DNA is not our test. It doesn't matter the circumstance. If they didn't sign up on the dolls, they cannot be members of the Cherokee Nation.
Was you born a slave? Yes, sir.
What was your honorary name? Mackie is his answer. I'll be the last person in the world to get up here and defend the Dawes Wells Commission. If we could go back and redo the Dawes Commission, and though it never happened, I'd be the first one to do that.
Now, you just said there's all kind of blacks with Cherokee in their blood. So why do y'all come for us when we say we indigenous? Make it make sense, brother.
So you actually think the Egyptians or the Egyptian-like people were here? Because I've ran across some people that have found some Egyptian artifacts in Colorado.
Now pay attention, listen to the old white man tell you the real name of Utah.
In the mountains east of Provo. In Nevada there was some found. And then, there's stories of the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. And then I have a friend that found some Egyptian hieroglyphs, along Lake Powell, which would have been along the Colorado River. It's interesting you'd say that. So you think there was...
Interesting thing that's kind of kept quiet is mummifying bodies was Egyptian. And they found a few scattered around the world, basically. The second largest place they found mummified bodies is in the old Utah Territory.
Really?
And they found them from the highest caves to clear down in New Mexico and stuff.
They were mummified.
But black folks wanted to integrate, and integrate killed us for a number of reasons. I'll try to get these points in very quickly. One, first of all, integration is nothing but a new modified form of segregation. Only thing now, you've broken your people down to a smaller unit. You defied the first premise of power, which is you no longer have numerical power. Now you're in little small groups all around large urban areas. That's point one that's going to knock our brains out. Point two is that the white society maintains what we call a racial balance, or what we call a tipping point, which says that I will accept black folk primarily at 0, but I will tolerate them anywhere from up to 5 to 8% of any given population. But the minute they cross that 5 to 8% population, it is no longer integration, it's now invasion, and I must take action against it. So I'll either take my kids out of school, put my house up for sale, move my business to the suburbs, or I will resign from the organization, okay? Because I'm not going to let him get that dominance over me. Third thing that immigration is done for you, it destroyed all your major businesses, because they use the highway system to drive expressways right down the center of every black community in this country. And where blacks used to have major business opportunities in the country, they were all destroyed. 4, we find that also we got a major capital drain. There's a basic rule in economics which says you must spend your money in your community and make it bounce 8 to 12 times before it leaves. Black money never bounced one time. Black folk have approximately $300 billion passing through our hands annually. That money doesn't even bounce in our communities.
Think for yourself, study for yourself. And when you find it to be the truth, live it out. You ain't got to join anything. You already a nation. But you don't think that, so you want to become a part of everything. Accept your own and be yourself. That's your blessing. We don't have no strength and no unity because we trying to hook up with everybody else and ain't hooked up with each other yet. And we in the same boat, going through the same shit, century, decade after century and decade.
There's a certain amount of white arrogance here, and they don't want to listen to what black people are saying. They don't understand because they don't want to understand. I've heard a woman here say, go back to Africa. Somebody said, we have a black holiday. What does that mean?
To those arrogant persons, when you tell us, go back, please remember where you came from. And when you want to relegate somebody to a specific place, just remember what your origin is in this world. Please, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I want you to understand that you, wherever you are on the earth, you're not a native anywhere. You came there and took it from the native people who are there. So please don't talk about going back, because if others talk to you about that, where would you go?
That ain't Africa. You can look at Nat Turner and the depictions of him and know he was an Aborigine. He had a different vibe about him. So people don't Like, really, 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 really know that. Not all black people did not come from freaking Africa. Because it's going to be very, very difficult for you to make it in that goddamn ship at the bottom of that goddamn ship for 3 months. When the food get low. Do the math. For real, for real. Do the motherfucking math. Seriously. And just ushering everybody in on boats the long goddamn way. They not stopping. Ain't no bathrooms on that motherfucker. Come on now. Come on now. Do the math. That's all you gotta do is do the motherfucking math. For real, for real. The human body won't last that long. You on a boat for 30 days, you ain't eating nothing but fucking slop. I mean, and feces and shit of the motherfucker that's sitting next to you. You're gonna die of disease, man. It's gonna be like 3 black people left whose bodies are physically fit enough to be able to withstand all that pressure under the goddamn ship. Come on. Keep that shit, bro.
Do you know why the American government had to make black children betray their grandparents by making them believe that they came from Africa? That's because they stole this country from us and they wanted our parents to give away the land that our ancestors owned for thousands of years. See, what they won't tell you is that when we started integrating into their schools after the Indian Civil Rights Act of 1968, they taught our parents a fake history and they started teaching them Africanism. They taught them that they came from Africa on slave ships. And if you ask your grandparents or your great-grandparents, if they're about 70 years old, Grandma, did you learn in school that you were a slave or that your people came from Africa? They will tell you no and that they didn't hear anything about that. I told my grandma this and she said, these white people crazy. They making all this stuff up.
Do your thing now when we have discovered in Amsterdam that we have a minority problem. That we are doing the same thing.
You are doing exactly the same thing. And what you are unable to accept is this. You always call it a minority problem. And it's true that black or non-white people are minority in any European capital. But we are not a minority in the world. You are the minority.